What you see is what you get. It's live radio on Big Hits WBTC. Those are the Dramatics, and it's Steve Kelly. It's a Tuesday, running a little late here, but we're getting started with Talk to the Doc, and Dr. Tim McKnight in studio, and always good to catch up. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Didn't know you were going to have to make a house call with computer issues today.
This was fun to watch you fix this.
Yes, we had some problems here in the studio, but we are back. And the show must go on, as the slogan says. So here we are. And I want to say thank you to our new sponsor for the show as well. We want to say welcome to Mako's Market and Pharmacy.
That's a great sponsor. Yes, great people at Mako's.
I know you deal with them a lot with the pharmacy, and we're going to be putting them in the spotlight here over the next few months. And Nutriscriptives is the brand of supplements that they carry that has your seal of approval, and it's good stuff.
So happy that they have it. I think a lot of those supplements fly off the shelves because there's a lot of people that go there to get high quality supplements at a very reasonable price. And
they are a full service pharmacy, so they can they can take care of any of your needs. I know you have a lot of your patients that use Mako's, and we're really lucky.
Yes.
Really lucky to have a pharmacy of the quality of Mako's in our area. So welcome aboard Mako's Market and Pharmacy. They provide free prescription drug counseling. They've got flu, pneumonia, and shingle vaccines, which are free with most insurance, unit dose pill packaging, and some of the lowest drug prices in the area for uninsured patients. So stop in and talk to the folks at Mako's Market and Pharmacy. Speaking of vaccines, this is the vaccine time. I know you're probably getting a lot of your patients flu shots. Shingles, is that something that who's susceptible to shingles?
Anybody that's had chickenpox is susceptible. That's not really a seasonal condition. It can happen any time. It can happen to teenagers and any of us. So the shingles vaccine is probably something that adults should think about.
I've heard from people that have had shingles that it is very, very painful, and it's not something that you wish upon anyone.
And those are the people that really are serious about the vaccine. And until you experience that pain that's relentless, that lasts for weeks, sometimes months, you don't really think too much about it. But once you've had that, you never want to have it again. And those are the ones that most of the time will get the vaccine.
I know I had a pneumonia shot vaccine a couple of years ago. That lasts for a few years. Is the same thing?
Yes,
with
and there's
shingles?
Two different. There's the Prevnar 13 and the pneumococcal vaccine. So there's two different types of vaccines, and each one gives you additional protection against a certain strain of pneumococcal pneumonia, which can be really dangerous.
Yeah, talk to your doc about getting a shot for the flu, shingles, or pneumonia. I want to talk, we had touched on this before, and I saw this in a medical article that fasting, you talked about this just recently, about fasting and how that can help. Of course, a lot of folks know that with weight loss, but it's also a way to help you, just get your health in good order. Fasting is not a bad thing.
No, and I think, there's a lot of fad diets and a lot of fad ideas. I think this is going to be one that sticks with us. So much good evidence about fasting, and this is really how we lived 200 or 300 years ago. Food wasn't guaranteed. There was no fast food. There was no grocery stores. You basically ate what you could find, and that wasn't guaranteed that you would find something every day. So we're adapted to be able to live that way, and we actually burn fat and increase our metabolism when we don't eat constantly throughout the day.
In our world here, and of course specifically in the United States, food is readily available to just about everybody, and we eat and we overeat, and it's a big problem. So fasting is something that when you're told that you have to fast or it's good for you, your brain kind of goes, what are you talking about, me starving myself?
Absolutely. And if you try to fast the day after Thanksgiving, after this big carb load, your brain will scream at you and say, what are you doing? I will die in the next 4 hours if you don't feed me.
Exactly, but that's not the case.
That is a very strong physiological signal that the brain receives from a hormone called ghrelin. But the longer you prolong the meals, the less strong and impactful that message is, and the easier it is to go without food without feeling like you're going to starve. So some people that do this, they can go 3 or 4 or 5 days without food. Now you can't go without water or a food intake, but you can go for days without food. And actually, we know that a 5-day fast increases growth hormone production. Fasting increases your metabolic rate. You don't lose really any muscle with fasting.
Wow.
So it's different from starvation. Starvation is completely different, but fasting is intentional abstaining from food. And it resets your, in this study that you mentioned, it resets your circadian rhythm, and we know that it starts to change the expression of genes that makes us able to utilize fat more effectively.
We're told that, the most important meal of the day, we were all brought up saying breakfast is so important. When should you fast? I mean, what is there a certain time that you should, eat breakfast and then fast the rest of the day? And this is saying intermittent fasting. So
Yes.
what is the proper way to do that if you want to make this healthy?
We don't know exactly when the best times are. I don't think we've determined that yet, but we know that fasting is good, and most experts are recommending 16 to 18 hours. Now, when you eat after a fast, that technically is your breakfast because you're breaking the fast, whether it's evening or morning. That's what breakfast means. It's an overnight.
Gotcha.
If you haven't eaten overnight, you're eating in the morning. That's your breakfast. You're breaking the fast. So,
Gotcha.
But the idea is that we go without food, and then when we eat healthy. And the other part of this that we can sort of get a little bit misled on is, if you fast for 18 hours, now you got 6 hours to eat for that 24-hour window. Well, some people will think I got to really load up the calories.
That's the thing. I mean, after you fast, you're maybe starving, and you think I've just got to jam as much as I can get in here, and that defeats the purpose.
Well,
of it,
but the what happens though is, again, the longer you fast, the less strong that impulse to eat is. So when your 18 hours are up for the first week on this, you're going to be hungry, but by the second week, that 18 hours, when that passes, you won't be that hungry. So you'll be reminding yourself, I'm supposed to eat now.
Right.
And so you will probably choose better foods. And the key to this is, in addition to the fasting, is that we need to keep our carb intake down, because fasting lowers the insulin and low carb intakes lower the insulin, and both of those will help us burn fat more effectively and turn off that insulin signal that makes us make fat.
So you eat your dinner at night, and that's the last I'm going to eat for 18 hours or whatever.
So maybe you eat lunch at noon and dinner at 6, and then you wait till the next lunchtime to eat again. That's an 18-hour fast. But some people doesn't quite fit their schedule, so they have to decide when they're going to do that.
It's fascinating, and again, healthy if you do it correctly. Now, is there a medical? Some people have to take medication, and if you take it on an empty stomach, it can make you sick or whatever. So it might be difficult for certain people to even be able to do that, medically speaking.
Well, that may be true with certain medications, so you should talk to your provider or maybe the pharmacist, or maybe you just change the times of the medication. But probably diabetics are the ones that are the most at risk for fasting, and so there are certain diabetic medications that without food really drop your blood sugar.
Yeah,
and,
so you
and
got
can
to
be a
make
problem.
sure
So you would want to talk to your primary care provider about that.
And this was something you covered in Fit for Life as well, part of the fasting, and in fact that was one of the tests that we did during the program. Was you had us fast for, I believe, 24 hours. Yeah. That's tough to not eat for 24 hours.
Well, when you ask people how'd you do with that, a few will say I thought it was hard, and a lot will say it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, but we get in our mind that we got to be nibbling, and we have that signal, that ghrelin signal in our brain that says you better eat, and if you just suppress that desire for food, that signal will drop down, and you won't be hungry. So it's really interesting physiology. And
so you should make this part of your routine each and every day, because it becomes, like you say, part of the circadian rhythm, and you it helps you to lose weight if that's what you're trying to do.
That's right. And the recent study at the University of California, Irvine, talked about this. It was an observational study, and we know that these biorhythms, these circadian rhythms, one of which is cortisol, which rises in the morning about 6 o'clock in the morning. And then when you're in a studio running a radio show and, the equipment fails, then you really get a surge of
Isn't
cortisol.
I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little adrenaline rush here right now.
There's these biorhythms that are there for a purpose, and we know that fasting enhances somehow the ability of those biorhythms to be more effective. And very interesting. The mechanism of how this happens is not understood, but we know that it's effective. In one study, they took mice. One group was fasting and the other wasn't, and both groups had the same amount of fat and total calorie intake. The fasting group did not develop obesity or metabolic disorders, whereas the other ones that were just nibbling through the day with free access to the mice chow, they had the metabolic problems and the obesity. So there's something to this. We don't understand the mechanism, but there's a circadian rhythm involved there, and fasting is just a powerful way to reset the body to burn fat more effectively.
It's fascinating, and I guess the best thing if you're considering this and you're thinking, well, I don't know if I can make it. What would be, and maybe you can't do 12 hours. I don't know how much would be.
Well, that's
worth
a
your
good point. That's
body.
That's a really good point. I think all of us can do 12 hours. We can sleep through the night, wake up in the morning, and maybe put off breakfast for a little bit.
Right.
So I would say for those that think they can't do it, just do a 12-hour fast, and each day maybe extend it. And before long, you realize that you have really lost that drive to eat.
Right.
And it will be easier to do that 18-hour fast.
Right. But the key too is once you stop or finish the fast, you don't want to overindulge and try to overcompensate.
That's right, because eat a high carbohydrate diet, if it's a lot of pastas, bread, sugars, and sweets, that will really trigger that feeding mechanism in your brain. It'll make it a lot harder.
Yeah, and I'm not certain that this is the time of year. Maybe people, it's possible. I mean, if you really want to put somebody to a challenge during the holiday season, fasting is probably something that with office parties and everywhere you go, you're presented some kind of cookie or snack, and it's tough to fast.
Well, we talked a little bit about this last week also. What makes it easier to not overindulge? It's drinking plenty of water before you eat, eating a lot of vegetables, because the fiber in the vegetables give you a sense of satiety, of fullness.
Sure.
And then recognizing that fat in your diet is not going to make you fat, it's going to make you feel satisfied. So if you start your meal off after you break this fast with a lot of water, with vegetables, a couple cups of vegetables, and then some fat, whatever form of fat that's relatively healthy, butter, avocado, olive oil, any of those healthy fats, you will feel satisfied and be able to wait till the next meal and not crave those carbohydrates. But
good advice.
Carbohydrates make you hungry, so
Absolutely.
we need to limit those.
All right, good advice. Fasting, our topic today on Talk to the Doc, and again, presented by our friends at Mako's Market and Pharmacy in downtown Uricksville. Stop in and visit the pharmacy. You can give them a call and talk to the pharmacist, 740-922-5400, and they will help you out with all of your health care at Mako's Market and Pharmacy. Talk to the Doc. We'll do it again next week.
I'll be here. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Tim McKnight from Trinity Hospital, Twin City, in studio, and joining us as he always does on Tuesdays here on Big Hits WBTC.